My name is Cassandra Wilson, but almost nobody calls me that. To most people, I'm just Cassie. Quiet, dependable, the one who remembers deadlines, pays her bills, and shows up when everyone else just needs a little help. And last Tuesday, at exactly the kind of boring hour where nothing life-changing is supposed to happen, I stared at a small strip of paper and realized I'd become $47 million richer. Not maybe. Not close. Exact. Perfect. 6 for 6. My hand started shaking so badly I thought I might rip the ticket in half. My throat went dry. My brain tried to reject what my eyes were seeing, like reality had glitched. But then the disbelief slid into something else. A colder, sharper feeling. Resolve. Because I knew something most people don't understand until it's too late. Money doesn't just change your life. It changes how people look at you. It changes how they talk to you. It changes what they think they're entitled to. And in my family, money never showed up without dragging claws behind it. So I made a decision right there in my kitchen before I even stood up from the chair. Nobody was going to know. Not yet. Maybe not ever. If you're watching right now, comment where you're tuning in from. I always like seeing how far these stories travel. And before I tell you what I did next, what I did that quietly exposed the truth about everyone around me, hit like and subscribe. I share stories about loyalty, betrayal, and the moments that reveal which one you're actually dealing with. Because what happened after I won wasn't a fairy tale. It was a test. And my family did not pass. Up until that Tuesday, my life was a loop. I lived in Portland in a one-bedroom apartment on the edge of the city. Nothing stylish, nothing Pinterest-worthy. Just clean, small, and mine. I worked as an accountant at a small marketing company. Small is a polite word. It was the kind of place where you're expected to do the work of 3 people, smile while you do it, and feel grateful they let you sit at a desk. Most mornings began at 6 a.m. Coffee, silence, and that low-level dread that lives in your chest when you're constantly one surprise expense away from panic. During tax season, the weeks blurred. 60 hours felt normal. The fluorescent lights in the office started to feel more familiar than the sun. And the cruel part was, I was good at my job. I didn't just balance numbers. I found problems before they became disasters. I spotted leaks in budgets the way some people spot typos. But my boss, Arnold, had this talent, this slimy, polished talent, of taking my ideas and presenting them like they fell out of his genius head the moment a client walked into the room. Then there was Derek, my coworker, who treated the office like a hotel. He'd leave early, forget tasks, and somehow still get praised for being a team player, because he was loud, friendly, and always knew when to laugh at Arnold's jokes. I stayed because stability mattered more than pride. I stayed because I didn't have the kind of family you can fall back on. My parents split when I was 14. And not in a quiet, mutual way. It was the kind of divorce that leaves you feeling like you're walking through broken glass, no matter which parent you choose to stand beside. My dad, Gregory, was a high school physics teacher, smart, logical, the kind of man who could explain black holes but couldn't explain why his daughter cried in the bathroom after family dinners. Within 2 years, he married Stephanie, a real estate agent with tastes that lived way above reality. She loved expensive things the way some people love oxygen, and she never missed a chance to remind everyone else what they didn't have. My mom, Diane, remarried too. She married Warren, a businessman who treated money like it was a sacred religion and everyone else was unworthy sinners. Warren was wealthy, yes, but not generous. He didn't believe in help. He believed in lessons. And growing up in the middle of that, 2 homes, 2 sets of rules, 2 new spouses, I learned to become the easiest child. The one who doesn't ask for much. The one who doesn't create problems. The one who just absorbs. I had 2 siblings. My younger sister, Lisa, 30 now, was the family's shining example of how to do life correctly. Ivy League degree. Married to Paul, a surgeon. 2 kids. Perfect suburban home. The kind of family portrait that looks like it came with its own soft filter. And my brother Jason, 36, was the opposite. Jason was charming, funny, quick with words. But he lived like consequences were optional. He drifted between jobs and relationships like a man allergic to consistency. And when things collapsed, because they always did, he'd come back with the same formula. A frantic call. A convincing apology. A promise to repay. Then silence. Until the next emergency. And every time the family acted like it was just Jason being Jason. Like that phrase made it acceptable. Outside my immediate family, there were two aunts who might as well have belonged to different universes. My mom's sister, Aunt Martha, was rare. Kind in the way that feels almost extinct. She taught elementary school. She drove an aging Honda that sounded like it was held together by stubbornness and prayer. Her apartment was small, packed with books and plants, and somehow always felt warm, like safety had a scent. Martha didn't complain. Not about money, not about health, not about anything. And then there was my dad's sister, Aunt Heather. Heather married into wealth and turned it into a personality. Every holiday with her felt like walking into an invisible contest where everyone else was losing. She'd compliment your outfit in a way that sounded like an insult. She'd ask about your job like it was a sad hobby. And her son Ryan had her arrogance but not her financial cushion. Plus a gambling problem the family treated like a private matter. Which really meant we all knew and we all pretended we didn't. By my early 30s I wasn't just tired. I was trained. Trained to be the reliable one. Trained to be the one who gives. Trained to swallow resentment because calling it out would cause drama. The moment that hardened me the most was 3 years ago, when Jason swore he needed $5,000 to enter rehab. I drained my savings. I wanted to believe him. Later I found out he never even checked in. And Lisa was worse in a quieter way. When she said she needed $2,000 for wedding expenses, she made it sound temporary, like borrowing sugar from a neighbor. I put it on my credit card after she promised she'd repay me after the honeymoon. That was 5 years ago. I'm still waiting. And my dad, my brilliant, logical father, once called asking for help repairing storm damage on his roof. I sent what I could. A few weeks later, I scrolled past photos of him and Stephanie lounging in Cancun like my money was just vacation seasoning. Every time something like that happened, it left a bruise you couldn't see. And the only person who ever really saw me through it was my best friend, Charlotte. Charlotte and I met in college. She became a nurse, steady, grounded, real. She never made me feel stupid for caring too much. Never made me feel weak for wanting my family to be different. When I got too bitter, she'd remind me the world wasn't entirely made of takers. But she also never defended my family, because she'd seen the pattern. The one reckless thing I allowed myself was a weekly lottery ticket. Just $10. Every Friday I'd stop at the corner shop, buy it, and walk out with a thin little piece of possibility. Everyone mocked it. My mom called it a math tax for dreamers. Jason joked that I should just hand him the $10 and save time. My dad couldn't resist turning it into a lecture about probability. But to me it wasn't logic. It was escape. It was a quiet rebellion against a life where every dollar already had a job before it even entered my account. My dreams were simple. Travel somewhere that wasn't within driving distance. Maybe get a master's in something I actually cared about. Stop living in fear of a flat tire. But reality was stubborn. Student loans. Credit card balances. Rent. Groceries. Gas. The kind of monthly juggling act that leaves you exhausted, even when nothing bad happens. I had a 10-year-old Corolla that coughed whenever it rained, like it resented the weather personally. Replacing it felt like science fiction. So I learned to look calm while my brain constantly calculated costs. That was my life. Until my birthday. The winning ticket happened on my 34th birthday, after one of those workdays where you swallow your pride like it's part of your job description. Arnold had taken credit, again, for a cost-saving strategy one developed. Clients praised him. He nodded like humility. Derek smirked like the world was fair. I left work drained, stopped at the same corner market, and walked in like I always did. Behind the counter was Gus, who'd owned the place forever. He was one of those rare people who remembers names and means it. "Happy birthday, Cassie," he called. I forced a smile. "Thanks, Gus. The usual, and make it 2 today. Birthday luck." He chuckled as I handed him a 20 instead of my normal 10. "Maybe today's your day," he said with a wink. And for once, I didn't pick random numbers. I picked numbers tied to my life. 3 and 16 my birthday. 12 my mother's. 21 my father's. 9 Aunt Martha's. 30 Charlotte's. 6 numbers connected to the people who shaped me for better or worse. That night I did what I always did on birthdays. Minimal celebration, no crowd, no expectations. Thai takeout. A bottle of wine Charlotte had given me. A quiet apartment. A quiet life. The drawing aired at 8. I barely watched. Then I checked the results on my phone like I always did, expecting nothing. First number matched. I smirked. Cute. Second number matched. Okay. Third. Fourth. By the fifth, my pulse was pounding so hard I could hear it. Then the sixth number appeared. And it matched. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. My brain refused to accept it. I rewound the broadcast. Checked again. Checked the official site. Sole winner. $47 million. After taxes. Roughly $28 million. I sat there in my apartment like a statue, staring at the ticket like it was radioactive. Then reality arrived, not joy. Fear. Not because money is bad. Because people can be. And I knew exactly what this kind of news would do to my family. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I went down a rabbit hole of lottery winner stories. And the deeper I read, the uglier it got. Families collapsing. Friends turning predatory. People suing. People threatening. Winners going broke. Winners ending up lonelier than before. By sunrise, my decision was final. I would claim the money anonymously. No celebration. No announcement. No we're rich. Just silence, strategy, and control. That morning, I called in sick for the first time in 3 years and booked an appointment with a high-end attorney named Philip Montgomery. Estate planning, financial law, the kind of man who speaks in calm sentences that make chaos feel manageable. His office was in one of those sleek towers downtown where everything smells like polished wood and expensive confidence. I sat in the waiting area gripping my purse like it contained a weapon. Because in a way it did. Philip greeted me with a professional smile. 50-ish. Salt and pepper hair. Designer glasses. The kind of eyes that don't flinch easily. How can I help you today, Ms. Wilson? I took a breath, slid the ticket across the desk and said quietly, I need to claim this without anyone knowing it's me. His eyebrows lifted for half a second, then professionalism took over. You came to the right place. He explained that in our state I could claim through a trust, keep my name out of headlines, and build layers of protection before anyone ever smelled money on me. Then he said something that landed like a warning. The fastest way to ruin this is to tell the wrong person too soon. Once the news spreads, you can't put it back in the box. I nodded, because I already knew. Within 2 weeks, the trust was formed. The prize was claimed. Accounts were established. Investments diversified. Everything built to last. On paper, I was safe. But my life didn't look different. I still went to work. Still drove the Corolla. Still listened to Arnold talk like he invented accounting. And the secret started to feel heavy. Not in a glamorous way. In an isolating way. I'd wake up and think, if they knew, would they finally treat me like I mattered? Then I'd remember all the times they treated me like an ATM with feelings. And a new thought started forming. A sharper thought. What if I could find out who they really were before I ever revealed anything? What if I could test them quietly without risking the secret? And that's how the plan was born. Not a dramatic plan. A simple one. A believable one. I would pretend I'd lost my job and needed $5,000 to cover rent and medical bills. Not enough to sound like a scam, but enough to matter. Enough to make people choose. I listed everyone, Mom and Warren, Dad and Stephanie, Lisa and Paul, Jason, Aunt Martha, Aunt Heather, Ryan. Each one had taken from me at some point. Now I would see who could give back. Before I started, I went back to Philip and made sure the money was protected in a way no one could touch, even if they suspected. He slid a folder toward me and said, Your future is locked down. You could quit your job today. I shook my head. If I quit suddenly, they'll notice. Philip nodded. Smart. That night I invited Charlotte over. We sat on my tiny balcony with wine and the city humming below. And I told her part of the plan, without telling her the full truth yet. I'm thinking of doing something, I said carefully. A kind of experiment. Charlotte narrowed her eyes. That sounds like you're about to do something questionable. I want to see who actually shows up for me, I admitted. Not when I'm useful. When I'm struggling. She didn't like it. I could see it in her face. Cassie, that's manipulative. I swallowed. Or it's clarity. Charlotte sighed, looking tired for me. I think you're the one who's going to get hurt. Maybe. But I'd been hurt quietly for years. At least this time I'd be choosing it for a reason. I rehearsed the story, built details that sounded real, prepared answers for questions. Because I already knew my family. They wouldn't ask how I was feeling. They'd ask for proof. They'd interrogate. They'd judge. And that's what I wanted. I didn't want sympathy. I wanted truth. By the time I went to bed, the plan was set. And the next morning, with my heart pounding harder than it did when I saw those winning numbers, I picked up my phone. I was going to start with my mother. If you're still here, don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this, because the next part is where people stop pretending and start revealing who they really are. And comment below. If you won $47 million, would you tell your family? Or keep it quiet? Because the moment I made that first call, I learned something that changed how I would deal with them forever. I made the first call from my car, parked 2 blocks away from work. Not because I needed privacy, because I needed air. My stomach felt tight the way it does before a dentist drill. Like your body knows what's coming even when your brain tries to pretend it's fine. I stared at my phone for a full minute before I tapped my mother's name. Diane Wilson. The woman who could cry on cue at family weddings, who always spoke about family first, who loved to remind everyone how much she'd sacrificed for her children. If anyone was going to come through, even a little, it should have been her. She picked up on the 3rd ring, distracted like she was flipping through a mental to-do list. "Hi, sweetheart." I swallowed and forced my voice to crack just enough. Not melodramatic. Not theatrical. Worried. Strained. Real. "Hey, Mom, it's Cassie." Her tone shifted instantly into concerned mother mode. "What's wrong? You sound off." That was my cue. I delivered the story the way Charlotte and I had rehearsed it. The marketing firm collapsing, the CEO caught in financial misconduct, payroll frozen, my final paycheck under investigation, and my savings drained by recent medical tests. I didn't say what the tests were for. I let silence do what it does, make people imagine the worst. Mom inhaled sharply. "Oh, honey, that's awful." Then came the questions. Not "Are you okay?" Not "Do you have someone with you?" But the practical ones, sharp like little pins. "Have you applied for unemployment? What about your emergency fund? How much do you have left?" I answered calmly, letting my voice soften. "Unemployment takes weeks. And my savings, it's gone. Rent's due next week and I'm scared." Then I said the line I hated saying because I've said it too many times in my life for other people. "I hate to ask, but could you help me? Just for this month. $5,000. I'll pay you back." The silence that followed wasn't long, but it was heavy. "Oh, Cassie," she sighed. And I knew it was coming before she said a word. "You know Warren and I just put a down payment on the lake house. Things are tight right now." There it was. Not "I wish I could." Not "we'll make it work." Tight. I stared out the windshield at nothing, feeling heat rise behind my eyes. "Okay," I said quietly. "Could you ask him? Just see." Her voice hardened a little, that defensive edge she got when she felt cornered. "I can, but I can't promise anything. Warren is, you know how he is about money." "Yes, Mom. I do know." Warren treated money like it was proof of virtue, and anyone without it like they deserved their struggle. She added almost casually, "Maybe you should ask your father. Or Lisa. Paul's doing well, right?" Redirect. Shift the responsibility. Spread the guilt around until it didn't land on her. I thanked her and ended the call. And the second the screen went dark, I felt something inside me go cold. Not surprise. Not shock. Just confirmation. I opened my notebook, the one I'd started for this experiment, and wrote, "Mom's sympathy first. Deflection second. Help unlikely." Then I sat there gripping the steering wheel and realized I wasn't just testing them. I was testing myself. Because part of me still wanted to be wrong. Part of me still wanted someone to say, "Of course. Don't even ask. I've got you." The next person wasn't a call. It was a meeting. My father preferred face-to-face, like he believed emotions could be managed better in public. So I invited him for coffee at a crowded cafe downtown, thinking the noise might soften him, the way background chatter can soften a sharp conversation. He arrived wearing the same neutral expression he wore when grading papers, measured, analytical, almost bored. "You look tired," he said, like he was describing the weather. I told him the story. Same details. Same amount. Same urgency. He listened without interrupting, arms crossed, eyes focused like he was calculating where I went wrong. When I finally said 5,000, he leaned back and sighed like I'd asked him to endorse a bad decision. Cassandra, he began, always Cassandra when he was about to lecture. I've told you for years. You need to be financially responsible. This is exactly why you should keep 6 months of expenses saved. He said it calmly, like he was proud of the wisdom. I kept my face composed. Life happened, Dad, I said carefully. Medical bills, car repairs, he waved a hand. Which is why you plan. Then came the slow dissection of my fictional spending habits. Do you really need to live where you live? Could you take on a roommate? What subscriptions are you paying for? Are you eating out too much? 20 minutes of budgeting advice for a woman who literally worked with numbers for a living. Not once did he say, I can help. Finally, he patted my hand. I'd love to assist you, he said, and for a second I almost believed him. Then he finished the sentence. But Stephanie and I are preparing for retirement. Touching those funds would be irresponsible. You'll thank me later. This experience will build character. Character. I smiled politely because decades of being the good daughter trained me well. But when I looked down at my coffee, I realized something painful. He wasn't teaching me character. He was teaching me what I already knew. That love in our family always came with conditions. I wrote in the notebook later, Dad lecture. No help. Blames me. Lisa was next. I drove to her house on a Saturday, past manicured lawns and matching mailboxes in neighborhoods that smelled like money. Her home looked like a magazine spread. White walls, perfect lighting, no clutter, the kind of kitchen where the counters never seemed to get used. Lisa greeted me with that bright, curated smile, sympathy with a polish. Oh my God, Cassie, she gasped when I told her. That's terrible. She squeezed my hand. Her nails were perfect. Her latte machine looked like it cost more than my car. For a moment, just a moment, I thought maybe she'd surprise me. Maybe. Then I asked. Her expression flickered. Not guilt exactly, more like inconvenience. Oh, 5,000, she repeated as if the number had weight. Then her eyes drifted away, already searching for excuses. Honestly, it's not a great time. We just bought the new Audi and the kids' tuition is, and we're remodeling the master bath. Paul handles finances and he's strict about big spending. Strict. A surgeon married to an Ivy League graduate in a home that could comfortably hold 3 families, and strict was the word she chose. I wouldn't ask if it wasn't urgent, I said softly. I know, she said quickly. Let me talk to Paul. Maybe we can do a smaller amount. Then she offered the kind of help that isn't help. Well, you could stay here for a bit. The guest room is full of boxes, but we could clear it out. Translation. I won't give you money, but I'll give you proximity, under my rules. I nodded, smiled, and left. In the notebook, Lisa, performative sympathy. Excuses. Offers control, not support. Jason didn't even get a call. Jason got a text. Because that's the level of effort he'd earned after years of taking and disappearing. I sent the message. The firm collapsed, I needed help, could he lend 5,000 just for this month? He replied within minutes. Damn sis, that sucks. Tight right now. We'll call later. He never called. I tried once. Voicemail. I tried again. Straight to voicemail. Then nothing. The silence hurt more than I expected. Not because I believed he'd come through, but because the least he could have offered cost nothing. A call. A check-in. I'm sorry. Anything. But Jason couldn't even pretend to care when he wasn't the one asking. In the notebook, Jason disappears. Again. And just like that, for people down. And my chest felt heavier with every name crossed off. Then came the spouses. And here's what people don't talk about. Sometimes the cruelty doesn't come from strangers. It comes from the people who marry into your family and decide you're the extra. Stephanie, the woman my father chose, didn't bother hiding her indifference. Her voice was brisk, polite, cold. Cassandra, I'm sorry you're stressed, she said. But we simply aren't in a position to assist right now. Maybe this is a chance to reevaluate your finances. That phrase again. Reevaluate. Like poverty is a personality flaw. Warren, my